So good afternoon. This is Wednesday. I don't even know, November, what
Well,
date?
well,
November 12th at noon Eastern Standard Time. And this is the inaugural Zoom session of our Widget World Wednesday. And we want to welcome everyone here. I'm going to have my husband, he's joining me on this. I'm going to have him put everyone on mute so that any noises don't change the screen. And at the end, um, well, I'll tell you the agenda. At the end, everyone will have time to talk and ask questions and things that they want to. So the quick agenda, this is our inaugural meeting. We are not by any means professional.
I lost you. Hang on.
There, I've unmuted myself.
Sorry, that's what happens when you mute all.
Yeah, you meet it all. So I'm Judy Turner, and with my husband, Chris Turner, we own and operate Centurion Roman Shade. It's actually a business that's been around for about 10 years now, actually 11 years, started in 2014. And but in September of 2024, we started with the widget kits, and that is just a much more user-friendly Roman shade kit. It's it's much simpler than what I was using before, and so here we are. And it's a product that I think other workrooms can also benefit from. So I've been a workroom professional for over 30 years, and my husband has joined me last September. Um, to really help with the Roman shade part of it, because as a workroom I couldn't do both aspects. So that is kind of who we are. Chris, did you want to say anything briefly?
No, I mean, well, yes, I guess. All I do is I manage the website. I manage all the communication back and forth to customers. I do all the shipping. I do the kitting. I now have some help doing the kitting because we've got a lot of widgets out there, and it's keeping me very busy. But anyway, I'm usually the sort of the contact point for issues around ordering or anything like that, and some technical questions. Although I defer to the guru when they get tricky.
So I wanted to say why we're hosting these monthly Zooms for our customers. And it's basically, I feel like it's a community that, because we actually have 1,678 widget kits that have been sold to date, and they're all over the place. I call them in the field. So in the field, we have over 1,600 out there. And so that's a lot of people. I've made quite a few, but I haven't made near that number. So I know other people are using it. They're having success. They're making shades the way they find it successful, or the way their designers want it. And I thought, to have a community that comes together every month, we can kind of share, and it'll help the learning curve. Even though I think this is like the simplest system out there, I think it'll still sort of help the learning curve of people who are joining us new, and it'll help transfer some of the knowledge of more experienced workrooms that have some skills that can be transferred to newer people fabricating. My basic philosophy is that a rising tide raises all ships. So if we're all working together and raising our education around the widget and Roman shades, that we can elevate our custom Roman shades across the industry. We are now selling in Canada quite well, and we've had people from Australia, Paris, the UK, and a few interested in South Africa. So it's kind of interesting, because I think it's a widget kit for Roman shades that is not readily available internationally. It's also user friendly for, as you guys know, we sell retail and wholesale. So it is designed so that even the DIY market, if they're just making a couple shades, they have a product that they can purchase and they can make shades that also are child safe and meet the current standards. So I thought that was important, and I felt like if I was going to be marketing this product, I might as well be able to market to everyone. And I know that there are always new people coming into the industry who don't always start off as a business. They might do it as a side hustle. So this also provides them a product that meets the child safe standards, and we can get them sort of educated in the custom luxury market of making these Roman shades. I think it's still one of the top. It's probably in the top two window treatments that we have in our field. So if you're proficient in Roman shades, your business should be doing pretty well. I've been kind of surprised at how many workrooms who continue to find us and say that they were workrooms in the past and they sort of gave up doing Roman shades when the headrails became expensive or more complicated. And now seeing this system and the way we present it, it's reminding them of how we all used to make Roman shades in the traditional style with the wood mounting board, screw eyes, and that, and very minimal adjustment to what a cord lock shade used to be like. So that's kind of our reason, is to get people together. I've learned a lot, and we field a lot of technical questions. And I felt like it's probably time now. There's enough of these kits out there and enough people out there using it that we can all benefit from some shared knowledge. So our schedule for 2026, it's really a draft form. It's subject to change. I think we're going to try and stick with the second Wednesday of every month at noon, just so we can sort of have a consistent date on our calendars and something to look forward to and something to plan for. So that's where we're going to probably park it, but I will say that it is subject to change because I may have travel or other commitments that don't work around that Wednesday. We're going to keep it to a Wednesday because I like the alliteration of a Widget World Wednesday. So we're going to keep it to that. It might become a wacky Widget World Wednesday or a wonderful Widget World Wednesday, but I think it's going to stay with Wednesday until we decide Wednesdays don't work. But, so the schedule in December, if you've looked at it, December, because we're still just new at this and we're sort of gathering our community, gathering our tribe. December is going to be a holiday social. When you work by yourself, you don't always get a holiday party. So I can appreciate, just needing to sort of cut loose in December. So we do have a poll, and we'll put a poll up because the date can either be December 10th or the 17th. It can either be at noon, or we could do a 5 p.m. sort of happy hour. So we'll put a poll up if Chris can figure it out. Oh, there, he's got a poll up already. So you can pick one of those. We're also going to solicit people moving forward in our social community to see what they want. So, kind of think about your Christmas schedule and see what you want to do. I'm kind of open, I guess, either way to what we do. So for the December social, I can tell you that we will have a drawing for those who are attending, and you'll have to be present to actually win. So we'll have drawings, and it'll probably be a few drawings. And then I've also got I'm going to showcase or talk about what I'm going to have for a 12 days of Christmas offering, which is going to be um, something that is for after the holidays, and it's going to benefit, I think it's going to benefit you. All I'm going to say, I don't want to say too much about it because in that December meeting is when I'll kind of explain what's going on with the 12 days of Christmas offering. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was our topics of education Zoom. So the way we've laid out the 2026 is, let me just move this pop quiz over, is that every other month would be educational and the alternate months would be Q&A time. So the Q&A is going to be open to everyone, no matter where you are in your experience with the widget. You can come with questions. You can email me ahead of time questions that you have that I can share. If you have a question, other people might have the same question. And as we go, we'll leave it open unless there's something dire that I feel needs to be addressed. I might use it for that on that time as well. Paula, I did see, yes, we're going to have a Q&A. We're going to open up the mic at the end, and we'll have a Q&A today as well. Yes. So every other time is the Q&A, and then for the education sessions, we're going to talk about the top-down, bottom-up, the day-night shade, a relaxed Roman, a shaped bottom hem. That's kind of what I have on the agenda for 2026. And what I want to say about that educational Zooms is these are all going to be free of charge. They're open to our users, but the education ones are going to be password protected. And what we want is, because these fabrication sessions are going to be for advanced fabrication. And what we want are people who have proficiency making a flat Roman shade. They understand the basic concept of using a widget, making a standard flat Roman shade. And then the educational sessions will take it beyond. So basically, I don't want to spend our time fielding questions or theoretical questions with people who haven't made a few in the basic form yet. Because I think when you do these other more advanced shades, it's so much easier if you have a basic understanding already. And I will raise my hand. I'm an education junkie myself, but I feel like we really need to make sure that people are proficient with the basics first, and then we'll allow people to get more education to make those more advanced shades as they move forward. So how do you get the password? Once you get the password, it's probably going to be the same password that you'll use for registering for each of those education sessions. And the way to get that password is to send us some photos and a short video of you operating your basic Roman shade. Basically, I want to see it kind of go up and down. You can talk a little bit about it. Don't be intimidated by the video. You can just do it on your phone and send it to me as a text message or something like that. And send a few photographs. And when you send photographs, we'll ask you that if we can put it on our gallery page, because we have a growing gallery page of finished shades. And we like to put the shades in their settings with the sizes and what widgets people are using, so that other people can kind of see, oh yeah, someone made a shade this size and they used this cord widget with it, or they made a shade in this application and it was good. And I think it's just good for inspiration to see who's all out there in our community making shades and what they look like and all that jazz. So when you get your basic Roman shade done and videotaped, then just send it to me anytime. and we're basically going to be a gatekeeper for issuing that password. So we'll probably have one password for 2026, and maybe, the hope is that everyone gets these widget kits and makes a basic shade, and we all sort of progress, to do more advanced things with it. My belief in talking with people at CWC is that there are a lot of people that do and have purchased the widget kits in the past year, and they're still either hesitant to make their first shade, or they felt they haven't had a need to make one. But I've made one that's like 25 inches wide by 45 long, and I keep that as a hand sample for my clients. It's really easy. It's a small size, and it's easy to just throw in my car, because not everyone can picture a cordless Roman shade. Sometimes they don't understand really even a Roman shade. And then when you say cordless, then they're kind of confused. But when you show them how simple it is with the widget, and it's easy to have for a hand sample, in my opinion. So that's the deal with how you get the password. That's how you get into the educational, the every other month educational Zoom meetings that we're going to have. Regardless of attending in person those educational Zoom sessions, we do have instructions. We've already published them for top down, bottom up. There, you have to sort of follow our blog, follow our newsletter, and you can see those instructions are posted. Don't know. We might have a basic instructions for the relaxed Roman shade, but I'm hoping to get someone on who's done a few more relaxed Roman shades than I have, and they're quite lovely, the way she's done them. And then the shaped bottom hem, I've done a few of those recently, so I'll sort of share that method as well. So all of that information, it's going to pop up on our blog, it's going to pop up on our newsletter, but my hope is that we'll present it in a monthly Zoom, where if you're interested, you can kind of see what we have to present, and we can talk about it in a smaller group, and share experience, and sort of share how it's working, answer questions, all that jazz. So I'm just kind of babbling there now. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Workroom Tech does feature the widget in their basic Roman shade online classes. And February 10th and the 17th, Susan Woodcock is hosting so it's 1 hour on the 10th and 1 hour on the 17th online. She hosts basic Roman shade fabrication. So the first hour sort of takes you through the fabrication. The second day, on the 17th of February, she shows you actually installing the widget and operating it. And then on March 18th and 25, she has a Spanish version of that same online course. So if for some reason you get to February and you still haven't made your first shade, then if you need a class, I think each of those classes is $75. Then by all means, if you need a little probe, seek her out, join that class, that online session, and that she makes a sample shade basically. So if you follow along, you'll have a completed sample shade from there. She's also hosting a workroom cadre in Denver, Colorado, and this is in July. It's July 30th and the 31st. One day is going to be lampshades, and the second day is going to be Roman shades, with, I think, Angie Weevil is the presenter on that one. So check out Workroom Tech to see what the schedule is. She may have other cadres that pop up, regional cadres, and when she does a cadre, she is talking about multiple headrail system options, so not just the widget. The widget is included, but she'll be talking about all the other possible headrails that you could use. So that's our schedule, and I will just say, subject to change for sure. And what I wanted to do is, and I think January, we're going to talk about the concealed hem grip, and I don't think that's going to be password protected yet for entry. I feel like that's just a step up from the basic Roman shade. It's basically a modification to a flat Roman. So I think I'm going to still, let people join as they can. But after that, we're going to have a password. And the main reason being is that we get a lot of a lot of the same questions that just kind of lets me think, makes me think that people are still struggling with just the basic for various reasons. So we want to get those people sort of up to speed before we go with more advanced learning. So I'm going to quickly, let's see where we are with time. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly answer some questions that we had from CWC. We did a survey there. It was a post-show survey, and we asked people if they had questions, and we got a few questions, so I'll address them here. They might be questions you've had or wondered about, and what I will say is that we like getting feedback from our customers. So we probably, in a few months, will probably send out a survey to everyone. We generally do a drawing. You fill out the survey, you get entered in a drawing for some free product. And it helps us to sort of gauge where we want to go with education, what kind of questions we need to answer in terms of where people get stuck with fabrication, or sometimes we just need to sort of dispel some myths that are out there. So we like the feedback. You can always, at any time, don't wait for a survey. You can always email us, text us, info@centurionrs.com. Gets an email right to my husband, and if he can't answer your technical questions, he will sort of pass them up the chain, and they'll pass by me, and then I'll answer them either through him or directly. So one of our questions, this was from Betsy after the conference, and she asked, what is the largest width that you can do? So it's kind of a complicated question, right? We specifically give you basic fabrication information, but because there's so many variables with a Roman shade in terms of fabric and fabrication, that it's really hard for us to give blanket answers. So what you see on our website are basic guidelines for making a standard Roman shade. And I will say one of our top questions are people asking how many cords they should have on their shade. And I think this is going to might even be something we address in December. I think the number of cords, it's not really something that we can answer, because it's something that the fabricator needs to figure out based on your fabric, based on whether or not you have structure in your shade. That's going to let you know what your vertical spacing needs to be for your cords, and then therefore how many cords. So we give you guidelines. Every 10 inches we say put a cord in. But we know if you use ribs and you use some of the techniques out there for using ribs, you can stretch that vertical cord spacing to 15 inches. So what I would say, what's the largest width? It's hard for us to say what your largest width is, because if you use ribs, you can use fewer cords. So when you get beyond a 4-cord widget, then you're going to have to combine 2 widgets. And when you combine 2 widgets, then you have to keep in mind that it's a two-handed operation, because you generally want your hands to come down under each widget, because that's where the force of pull needs to come from. So when you're putting your widgets together on the board, my experience, I've done a 2 and a 3 to get 5 chords. I don't really recommend it. I just feel like it's a little off balance. So if I had a shade that I'm making and I really needed 5 chords at 10-inch spacing, I'm probably going to look at putting ribs in it and doing 4 chords on that shade. I will probably contemplate, if I had 6 chords, I think 2 3-chord widgets are going to be much more successful, and I would mirror them. So you have 2 chords that come out one side on a 3-chord and 1 chord that comes out on the other side. I would probably, whatever position you have them in, I would mirror that position on the other side, knowing that where you want to pull down, 2 hands, again, it's going to be a two-handed operation, knowing that you're going to have 2 hands pulling down, I would mirror where those widgets are placed on the board for 6 chords. With 2 3-chords, you're going to have even weight on them because the widgets are the same weight. Currently, our widgets are different weights. If you've been ordering them, we've been curating and fine-tuning the weight that we offer for the different chord widgets. And we're still fine-tuning it, and we're getting very close to, I think, where we're going to settle with the weights of our widgets and how they look. But the biggest thing that I can show you, let's see if I've got them. Yes. So these 2 widgets, this is a 2-chord and this is a 4-chord. Going forward, these are the same size. It's going to be the same housing for the 2-chord, the 3-chord, and the 4-chord. The housing is going to be the same size. Right now, our 2-chord is slightly narrower, the 3-chord's a little bit longer. They all still fit on the 1.5-inch board, so the width has not changed at all. They look a little chunkier, but they're still 1.5 inches. And so the biggest thing is that the 2, 3, and the 4, the housing is all going to look the same. They are labeled with stickers, so you'll be able to tell which is a 2-chord, which is a 3-chord. Obviously, when you unroll the chords, you'll see which ones are 2s, which ones are 3s, and which ones are 4. But you can read it on the sticker as well, and we sticker the kits as to 2, 3, or 4s. But don't be surprised if when you open them up, I mean, these are sort of a light gray. The color may change. The color really doesn't matter. If you had off-white before and now they're gray, that doesn't really matter. If you're doing a job where you've ordered them at different times, because we have been phasing and switching some of these to sort of fine-tune the offering. If you have a job and you have a mismatch, just contact us and we'll match out whatever you need matched out, either with all 3, with 2 or 3 new ones to make them all match, or we do still have a few of the older ones that we just kind of keep around. So that's sort of a new little teaser coming up, is that those will be the same. So I don't know, does that answer the question, what is the largest width? It probably didn't really answer that, because I don't feel like we really can. It depends on, is it a sheer fabric? Is it, obviously if it's a long shade and it's parked in front of a sofa and you need two hands, it's not really user friendly to do that. And you need to think about a chain system or a loop system, a clutch system to operate that shade easily. So, what we're telling people, and sometimes people just need a large shade and they know it's never going to be operated, then, combine widgets. We don't really have a limit. It's just kind of physically, what you and your clients, what the expectation is, and, try it and see. So Jenny asks, she's curious on if there's any idea on the lifespan of the widget. She says, I assume older cord lock shades can be changed over to the widget. So it's kind of a two-part question. So the lifespan of the widget, I've had them out there for a while. They're used in woven wood shades. They've been out in the industry for quite a while. It's not new. It might be new for you to see it as a Roman shade offering, but it's been out there, and it's so simple. I think in one of our Q&As we'll kind of dissect the widget a little bit more, but you can literally see everything that's going on with it, all the physics and the mechanical, the engineering piece of it. So it's basically a metal coil that goes from one spool to another in an S curve. And these are all gears. There are 4 gears connected. 2 for the metal spring in there that goes, the length of the spring determines the length of your shade. So when we say there's a limit on the length, it's because of that wire is only so long. There's a gear on either end that is basically the spool for your cords. So when one wheel moves, all 4 of them move. So that's pretty much it. When you look at it, when you look at your widgets, you can move the cords and you can pretty much see what's going on. So the lifespan of it, it's a metal spring. I've never had it break on me. I think if people if they pull it down beyond its limit, it can actually pop out of, there's a tab that connects it to the spool. It can pop out of there and maybe then it won't work. It's not really a lifespan because you can pop it back in and it's still going to work. So, I think the lifespan is, the cords are going to, every product out there, hard treatment product usually says 7-year lifespan on hard treatments. And that's basically on the cords, I think, that deteriorate because they are sitting in the sun. Cords can probably be replaced. We haven't gotten to that stage, but honestly, the widgets, because they're so cost effective, you may as well just, at that point, you just get a new widget. But I think if everything was working fine, you probably could, I've taken woven wood shades and replaced all the cords on them. I've had a few clients that had them in windows that just for whatever reason got a ton of UV coming in, and the cords wore out in like 3 years consistently. I've recorded a couple of shades consistently in that sort of short time frame. So I think the lifespan is, I think the wear and tear is more on abuse. So I think it goes back to how the client's using it. I don't think these widgets are ever going to sort of expire on their own at a certain time. So yes, older cord lock shades can, I would say, pretty easily be converted to a widget, and we've had many workrooms starting to do that, taking shades. The only thing, like if you know the basic fabrication for using a widget, you need to have that stiff hem, and you can add an external. Instead of having to remake an existing shade, you can put on an external 2.5 inch or 2 inch stiff hem on the back where where your your rings at the bottom, where the cords terminate in the rings. You just attach something external across the whole width of your shade, because you'll need something rigid there, and you'll also need some place to pull the shade down and push it back up. So yes, you can retrofit. And if it's an older cord lock shade, you might want to just switch to using the ladder tape as well, if you're going to do that. So Audrey says, I would like to know more about combining widgets for larger shades. So I think we've sort of talked about that, and I will say that I don't really recommend. We've had several workrooms to try and make a 5 corded shade, and they'll use a 2 and a 3. And I'm not convinced. Like I said, as a personal workroom, I would put some structure in it and go to a 4, or I would probably go with 6 chords and do 2 3s. People have done a 2 and a 5, but and of course you can do 2 4s. Just keep in mind, now you're getting to a shade that's 80 inches or wider, and you've got to be able to pull it down in the middle of each of those 4 chords from that point. So Kate asked, I would like to know more how to stack the widgets on top of each other. And I wasn't really sure. I was hoping Kate would be on the call. I'm not really sure what she means on top of each other, but it's more of a side to side is how, if you're going to use the widgets, you want to sort of stack them side to side for wider widths. Or you'll see when we do a top down, bottom up, I think it's best to put the widgets sort of front to back like this on a board. So you're going to have to go with a wider board. I have done a top down, bottom up, like with widgets like this, but the problem is you've got cords that are crossing over each other on a narrow mounting board. It's not ideal. It can work, but you're going to be kind of fighting it, and that's what we're going to talk about when we get into the top down, bottom up. So I think for sure if you're gonna do want some of those more advanced shades where you are combining, you do need 2 different widgets for different operation. I think putting them in the center and mounting them, and side to side like that is better than having them laterally where you've got cords that have to sort of crisscross. And Leanne asked about lead time to receive product, and I think Chris can also address this, but we ship things out pretty much every day. They go UPS priority, or they go UPS Express or USPS priority are how they go. And we sort of look at where you are and which is most cost effective and which is the most speedy and accurate way to get you your packages. We know there are some places in the South where it's really kind of hard either way, UPS or USPS. We've sent packages, I believe, USPS to certain areas in the South, and probably because of staffing, some things are just like really, really delayed. So if you have a preference, we've sent you something before and it just doesn't get there in a speedy manner, let us know. But I think Chris generally knows, what places, what regions of the country are the delivery method, which is best for those areas. Another question we had was, this came in recently as an email. Quick question regarding the shade weight needed for widgets. I have a Roman shade with 4 strings that are lined and interlined and are about 35 by 48 inches. Each is weighing 1.36 to 1.41 pounds. I'm planning on ordering the 4-string widget. Will these be enough weight for those? I believe it should, but I just wanted to double check. So what I want to say about weight is that I think I want to kind of dispel some of the myth or some of the communication about weight. So we never ask you how heavy is your shade, how heavy is your fabric, because that really isn't the most relevant part of the question for your shade operating. It's not about the dry weight of your fabric. So when you hear that being talked about, like you have to weigh your fabrics, no, you don't. You don't. So I wish that would just kind of not be circulating out there. It's not really accurate. You do need to be mindful if your fabric is sheer and your shade is sheer, or is it really wide and you've got all kinds of lining and interlinings and things in it. But the lining is not really a weight issue. It doesn't add a tremendous amount of weight. Linings, if you weighed them, they are all pretty light. So with the widget, when we talk about weights, there is a maximum weight because that metal spring, basically when you pull it, it needs to stop when you stop using force to pull it down. So you need a minimum weight on the bottom hem to keep it where you stop pulling it. But you are it's your force that's pulling that sprocket, that spring. You're moving the spring from one spool to the other, which is going to, in effect, either lengthen the cords or draw them up, depending on if you're pulling or pushing. So the force that you're using, you have to get that spring moving. And once it's moving, you don't have to use continuous force, because it's that physics principle of once something's in motion, it's easy to kind of keep moving it down. Once you let your hand go, it should not have any bounce back or spring. If it does, it means that you don't have enough weight in your hem. So we're trying to eliminate, a lot of people like to use aluminum because it's cheap, it's easy to cut, and I don't believe that it provides enough weight for this system. There's so much tension in this spring that I do not believe that an aluminum weight, it really, again, it depends. If you've got a super wide shade, heavy fabrics, an aluminum bar might be fine. I feel like an aluminum or a wooden batten is more of a hem stiffener, not a weight bar. So I would say start with steel. Steel is always going to be enough weight. We've looked at the charts and you need at least a half pound. So if you have a shade that is narrow and really long, sometimes you even need an external weight on it, because that linear length, it may not be enough to give you the weight that you need for that long shade. So you need a minimum weight. We're trying to eliminate aluminum as an option. I know workrooms do sort of default to that, but we know that they run into trouble with springback on it. So again, zinc could possibly work for your shade. Steel always will. And then the force to pull down. So, and the reason we say that the dry weight doesn't matter is because once your fabric is stapled to the top of a weight bar. Sorry, not a weight bar, a mounting board, a wood mounting board. The weight has been taken up onto that. It's been displaced by that wood mount board. So the weight, the dry weight, is not the same anymore. It's really kind of irrelevant to the whole equation, because your mounting board is taking up, supporting that weight. So it's kind of the weight that's hanging, which, I don't know how you calculate that, honestly. We don't have any kind of scale that would allow you to weigh that. But just know that, if you've weighed your fabric and you put it on a mounting board, it's not the same weight anymore. So the weight, I feel, there are maximum weights, and we're going to keep curating that so that we offer a widget that we feel will work with 95% of the shades that people are making. You might be outside those norms, and we'd love to hear if that's your experience, because we can still curate and tweak a little about what we're offering. We're trying to keep it simple so that it's 1 2-chord, 1 3-chord, 1 4-chord. So to take the guesswork out. So yeah, our answer for Brittany was, again, putting it back to her, well, she thought 4 strings would be enough. The widget really doesn't care what your vertical spacing is, how many chords you have on a shade. That's a question for you to answer. And we're here to help educate you, but we find a lot of workrooms are not trusting themselves to sort of figure out what they know, needs to be, what the spacing needs to be on their shade for their fabric and their width and everything. So we're here to help. I mean, that's part of the reason for having these Zoom sessions, and I think the general Q&As is so we can address those questions. So that was the last I had of questions from everyone, and I think we want to open it up to Q&As. I think I've talked about everything.
There are some questions in the chat.
Okay.
Go and look at, and then anybody who wants to ask a question, just click on the audio mic down in the lower left corner of your screen, and you'll unmute yourself, and you can ask a question. But Judy, if you want to go through the chat ones first.
Okay.
There's a reverse mount question.
Yeah.
You want me to read them?
You can. I see.
For the educational password protected video, would the fabricated Roman shade have to be installed? Marcy has made one, but she hasn't installed it yet.
Right.
When's it going to install? Yeah, I mean, I think the first password protected Zoom is probably going to be in March, so hopefully you'll have it installed by then.
Well, I just made it for Susan's class. I took her online class.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a window picked out, so I just made it.
A random shade.
Yeah, and it came out great. And I was thinking of getting prepared to sew something for a friend. And I was away. I didn't know her measurement for the window. So I just made Susan's dimensions, and I have it. So
sure. So you can also, if it's a small enough sample, what I usually enlist my husband's help when I'm testing shades, and I make him hold it really high so that I can pull it down and test it.
No, I put it on I clamped it to a table. So yeah, I've been seeing it do that, and it's worked fine. So
yeah, so that's, we generally just want people to sort of get a feel for how it works, why you need a stiff hem, all those basics. So that's perfect. Just give me send us a quick little video of it. We're also looking for testimonials. We give discounts when people sort of send us a testimonial, a video that we could use, a photo we can put up on our gallery. You'll get a discount code for anything we can sort of cross promote. We'll cross promote you and show other people. Yeah.
Okay. No, I loved the whole system because it was my very first Roman shade. I never
Awesome.
made one before, and I think it's great.
Oh, good. So you're going to
Yeah.
be ready to go to more advanced fabrication pretty
Hopefully.
soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah.
Paula will come to you in a second. Colleen had a quick question. I think it's just a yes answer. Can we do can you use the widget with I lost it, reverse mount shade?
Yes. So I haven't personally made those. I was just speaking to, I think it was Jennifer. You're on the call, and I think I was just speaking to Jennifer about reverse mount. So Jennifer, this is going to be a repeat for you. I haven't personally made them because I generally like all the folds sort of stacking behind the shade. And I feel when it's mounted on a 1.5-inch board, that's sort of the proper depth for getting everything to stack under. I do, however, know that there are applications on a door and things like that where you want the shade coming off the back. So you're going to put grommets in and you have to put a valance on over it because you don't want to see any of that. And your widget obviously is going to be in front of the shade now and not behind it. So what happens, so for a couple of those reasons, I won't do a back mount just because it's just more steps. But people have done them. And what I always tell people, regardless of whether or not you are doing a shade coming off the back or off the front, that when you lift your shade, I'll sort of show you this way. I tell people to kind of scoop back to the glass. If this is my window, to kind of scoop back like that as you push up. And that allows the folds of your shade to come forward, to sort of billow forward, and they'll stack on each other better. If you go and try and just push a shade with the widget straight up, then I've felt resistance because depending on how well your fabric wants to fold and train, that and you've got the ladder tape in there and I just feel resistance. But if I do a scoop, the cords are now more in a line with where they need to go up through those screw eyes and into back into the widget to spool up. So it's always that kind of motion that I'm using with my Roman shades, sort of scooping up to the glass, not this, and definitely not this, which I will tell you, I instruct my homeowners all the time. So this is just like if you have a honeycomb shade or I've done wooden slats. People with slatted blinds don't generally raise and lower them a whole lot, but sometimes they do. And a customer's tendency is always they're standing in front of it and they want to do this angle from them to up to the top at an angle. And 9 times out of 10, that's like the wrong way. That's the wrong way to raise a shade. You want to be either under it, straight under it for a honeycomb. And with a Roman shade, like I said, because you want the fabric to fold forward and not have to fuss with it so much, if you scoop back, show them to lift the shade, go towards the glass when you raise it. Then the folds will have a chance to fold forward on yourself. So yes, you can do it, and many people have.
Okay, Judy, Paula has a question. Paula, if you want to unmute, she's got a couple of widgets where the strings are twisting over the reels of each other as they go up. She said she could explain it better.
Okay.
So our first project with widgets, we did over 30 shades, and almost, most of them were perfection. And Chris, you were remarkable about your getting back to me with some questions, and I was so impressed. I love the widget.
Thank you.
Two of my 4 strings and several of the 2 strings, when we when we're going to put them back up, they won't go back onto the little reels correctly. They twist over each other's, and so they're not. Unfortunately, my camera doesn't work, but it doesn't go up smoothly, and the cords get twisted and they go onto each other's reels. Does that make sense at all, what I'm explaining?
It kind of does, and I'll let Judy answer, but what I would wonder is, on a two-chord widget, the cords are entering the widget from opposite ends. One's coming out one end and down, and one's coming out the other end and down. So as they come up, I'm not sure how they get across each other. They should be reeling in to each reel on an end.
I apologize. It's mostly on the fours.
Okay.
But some of the twos, they weren't smoothly going back onto the reel. So it was, the string would go on top of each other. It wasn't as smooth. So then it threw off everything, and we've had to replace them. I'm just curious why that might be happening. And that's my question.
So I'll answer, and I'll say that we haven't had that feedback. So Paula, what we can do is have you send those back, and we'll swap them out, because I'd love to see which ones are doing that. I will say that we have changed suppliers. So if they're the older, more original widgets that we were using, I believe the cords were a little bit thinner. And the ones we're using now, I think the cord is a little bit thicker. So maybe that's not going to do that. I would be surprised if it's happening with the newest ones that we're distributing right now. If it is with the older ones, I can tell you that we're, I'm curious to know if that, to see that happening. I don't doubt you, but I've never come across it myself. And I do know that some of I felt like the cords on some of those were kind of thin. So it doesn't surprise me. I also wonder if speed, like trying to raise it too fast, is what's doing that.
I just want to
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but speed doesn't have anything to do with it. I was with one of my installers when we were replacing some widgets that were not working because of this situation. We replaced on site, we took it down and replaced the widgets, put it back up, and we were using two hands. The shade is 35 wide by 50, and it was a 4 widget. So every time it went back up, they were crossing over each other, and we tried with our fingers to separate, tried it again, and it kept on going up like that. It's the gray widgets, the light gray.
Yeah.
And what I will say, the first time it happened, Chris very kindly sent me 3 new ones and a box to send the broken ones back.
Yeah.
Not broken, the ones that just weren't working. I'm just going to be using a little bigger box because it happened to a couple more. I want to know if it's something I did, or, because about 24 other shades work perfectly. So I'm curious.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm looking at the widgets. The only thing I can think is that maybe on some of those, there's sort of when these cords are woven, there might be a twist to them. And, maybe the twist is like in the wrong direction when they're loaded on or something. I also wonder if changing position, I don't know if you if you have both your cords going through the same first screw eye, and then, the first cord and the fourth cord are going to travel out into its own. But sometimes I wonder if, and I haven't really experimented too much with where that screw eye placement is, and is it better? I try and align it, so the screw eyes on my board, excuse me, so that they're in line with where the cord goes back into the widget. Meaning I won't put the screw eye up or down if the cords are feeding in from the center. Does that make sense?
I do, but so I think I've been doing the cording incorrectly, because I've been putting the screw eyes in alignment. Oh God, there are dogs here now. Sorry. I've been putting it in alignment with the location of the Roman shade rings. Is that's incorrect?
No, that's correct, but I'm saying let me show you, like maybe I can do it this way. So if this is the widget on the board, I don't have say this is 1.5 inches. I'm going to put the screw eye on the mounting board. I'm going to put the screw eye so that it's in line with where the cord feeds back into the widget. So in this case of a 4, both cords come out the center of the widget, not at the top or not down here. So I put the screw eye in the center of the mounting board and in the center over here.
Yeah,
so
that was correct. Then we did it. But I'll send them back to you so you can identify and help me understand.
That would be great.
What I might have done wrong. I appreciate it. Thank you. I love the widget.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had that problem, but I'm also just kind of wondering, like maybe it is a twist of the cord or something. It's probably something very minor.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Of course.
What I found is that they don't necessarily wind back up as if you're winding a bobbin. They don't necessarily roll back and forth on those spools. My question is because I've done quite a few larger shades that were motorized, I've used the 0.09 cord. And that is a pretty strong cord and can handle the weight of the size of what the widget does. I'm wondering if we can try out a 0.09 cord on some widgets. For 1, to see if they coil better on those spools. And for 2, if we could use the cord locks with them instead of the ladder tape.
You mean the ring locks?
Yes. Thank you.
I say the wrong things all the time. So you could always change out the cord on it to a 0.9 if that's what, and 0.9 cord is quite readily available. And if you look at, the ones that we're supplying now, when I look at it, I can see a hole. You probably can't see it, but there's like a little keyhole in there. So you can knot it, and if you had a shade that needed brown cord for some reason or black cord, and I will say someone has dyed this cord black successfully, but you can change the cord out to that 0.9. And I'll also say, and I understand, that the thicker cord might be a problem with that spooling. I also wonder if the size of the screw eye being bigger or smaller might affect how it gets fed in there. But I will say that we are never gonna sort of promote or work this so that it works with ring locks for a lot of different reasons. So we're not a ring lock. We're not a ring lock community. We know other workrooms have used them. But yeah, for a lot of different reasons. I'm really trying to sort of eliminate a lot of the plastic components that go into these shades, for one. And then I also feel like the ring locks, it's kind of like an OEM. It's an aftermarket product that you're kind of adding onto it. The workrooms are ultimately, responsible for fabricating child-safe shades. So, whatever you do, we recognize however you make your shade is how you make your shade. But we're not going to ever promote ring locks. For a couple different reasons. And on the ring lock topic, I will say, a lot of people say, well, they like the ring lock because they want that waterfall stack. And we have done blogs and shown how you can use clear tubing or beads to sort of get that stack. And you just have to thread it through the letter tape and the cord through, and you can get a waterfall look quite easily that way. So I'm kind of low expense, easy operation, and I don't really want to add something that may fail in the field. And I don't have any history with a ring lock to know if it would.
I appreciate that explanation.
Yeah, but we will say workrooms have used it, but it's not something. That's not something we promote or we're going to try and make work. I will, sort of on a similar topic of functionality, what we are contemplating is, I would say our number one technical question, is someone showing us a shade that's uneven. And almost 10 out of 10 times, they've put the cord has terminated through an orb, but it hasn't been knotted off. And what happens is that the orb itself, the widgets and the cords are under so much tension that the orb itself is not strong enough to prevent the cord from slipping through. So it begs the question, why is the orb even there? And I'm seriously considering not including orbs, because I feel like if your shade is flat on the table and everything is flat, your fabric is square, your head rail, your mounting board is perpendicular to your shade, when you knot it off and you pull the pin, if your knot is strong, your shade cords are never going to become uneven. There will, however, is the problem with some bigger shades that have thicker fabric or layers. If you have a lot of take up in your sides for the hems, you're gonna see maybe that it's not sitting flat, but it should be symmetrical to the sides. And that's probably where low bulk construction needs to happen, or you need to build in, and this is something we can talk about with our more advanced group, where maybe some like filler needs to be in the center cords that don't have the bulk to sort of even things out. But that's a pretty minor, minute issue there. But I will say, going forward, we're seriously considering not including ring locks. I'm sorry, here I am, ring locks again, orbs, because we just find it causes people more problems than it's worth. And it's really, you're never really going to be at your customer's house adjusting a cord. And what happens when people don't knot is that they see it go up uneven, because it will. You will consistently lose some cord out of one or all of those cords, and not equally. So it becomes uneven, and you're going to be constantly chasing that to get it straight and flat. So we're sort of, my thinking is like, let's go back to how we used to make shades, because Honestly, when I did cord lock shades, I never had orbs at the bottom. I just knot it and go. Your windows are not going to be that out of level that you have to adjust your shade at the bottom. I don't think. Yeah. So I think that's a product. I think that's been I think it's been a crutch for a lot of workrooms, and maybe some systems required the use of it more. I never used a spring roll system. So, perhaps it was really useful in that kind of system. But I know that in the system and the way that we're making shades now, it's really it's really not useful, I don't think, to what we're doing. So if you see the orbs disappear, we'll make an announcement, but the orbs may disappear. Any other questions? Where do you suggest we get steel flat weight bars? Raleigh seems to be aluminum. So I have a source for like a wholesale metal source. I haven't used them yet, but I think I'm going to investigate. I just go to Home Depot for all my flat bars, and you can only get a 3 or a 4 foot weight bar. I've been making enough shades that I am thinking of getting more in bulk. I know Scott Robbins, he buys his steel metal rods in bulk.
Susan posted a link to Fast Metals online. Much
good.
cheaper.
Yeah, we just got a whole bunch of weight bars steel from Fast Metals online. Much cheaper. I think it was $5 or $6 compared to like $16 at Home Depot.
Awesome. And what lengths do they come in?
I got 3 foot and 4 foot.
Okay, so that's the same that Home Depot.
They're probably supplying Home Depot.
Exactly.
And I think it was, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure it was free shipping too, because I bought enough so it would be free shipping.
Oh, to pay for it. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll post some of those links. We may post them in the blog, and we'll post them on our site. And that is a perfect example of why I think this community needs to meet each month, to sort of share those sources. What else do we have? Talked about ring locks.
I think that was it for the written ones.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments, questions, concerns?
I just want to say, this is Paula again. I know I wrote it in the chat, but Alan Richard Textiles in New York, they have long lengths and you can buy them in bulk.
Awesome. Thank you. Alan Richard Textile. Yeah.
It might be Textiles. I never remember, and I order from them all the time.
I think it is Alan Richard Textiles. Yeah.
Yes.
I think you're correct. Yep. Yeah, I think if you make a lot of shades, that's the way to go. And there was something around, oh, here it is. A little teaser. There's a bunch of workrooms around me that are closing, and so they're sending me all their supplies. And one of the workrooms gave me these. It's a 5 foot long piece of like balsam wood or something, and it's like 1/4 of an inch, and it's really thin. And I'm going to be experimenting with using this wood for ribs on shades, because I think it's easier to cut. And it's flat, so it can be glued to lining. And I think it would be cheaper and faster all the way around. Sometimes I feel like fiberglass ribs are, I don't know, for the cost and what they are, maybe a little bit excessive for some of the shades we're making. Maybe not, but I want to see if these sort of flat wood strips are an easier way to do ribbed shades, especially on some of those narrower ones that we have. So that's coming in 2026 when I have time to.
The big winner for the poll is that we'll have our next meeting on December 10th at noon Eastern time.
10th at noon. Okay, that works.
Far and away the big winner.
Okay, good. I thought so, but I figured I could put it out there. That was my original planning for the second Wednesday was to hit that date. That looks good. So thank you all for joining. We are over an hour. Didn't mean to go over the hour. But if anyone has any other questions, just always shoot them our way. We're here. Thank you, Laura. She loves the widget so far. We have had a lot of good feedback from people. And I will remind people, sort of go back to, if you've done the widget for a while, go back to our basic instructions and just review some of it, because there might be something that you read that you didn't catch the first time, or, I know a lot of us sort of fall back into our old habits of how we make shades. A few workrooms that have gotten the kits have said they never used ladder tape. They always used either ring locks or individually sewn on rings. And they switched, because they got the ladder tape in their kits, they started using that for their tacks and not using rings. And they said it just kind of revolutionized, how they make their shades, because now the back is clean and they don't have to buy all those brass rings going up it. And we'll always have the ladder tape in our kits for a bunch of different reasons. For one, it keeps the cords safe. And for two, the second reason why I won't ever provide rings going up your shade is that with the ladder tape, it's more of a universal tacking system. So a lot of my shades, sometimes I have like 7 inches in between the horizontal tacks going up. And I'll do a 7 sometimes if it's a smaller shade and I want to get more folds, and I want the folds to fall in a certain way, so I don't have, I either have sort of a self-valance at the top, or I want trim or something showing on the bottom hem. So I'll change that spacing. And with a ladder tape, you can tack it basically wherever you want along that length. And I will say that if you get to your tack point and it's kind of the space of the ladder, just feel free to slide that ladder tape down that 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever, get to the next solid section of your ladder so that you're stitching through that. You don't just stitch through the whole thing. I just like to catch about half of that solid in my tack point. But you can slide that down. It's not going to affect your shade at all, because the cords will be under tension. So the cord will never be slack like the ladder, has a little bit more extra in there. It'll just gather around the cord. It's never an issue. So don't try and tack it in an open space. Just slide it down. So I think that's it. Look for some of our promo stuff for our December social. I'm going to try and make it fun, so it might be a little interactive. I'm not going to have an agenda. I'm going to try and keep it light. You can bring your lunch, you can bring your snacks, that kind of thing. Make it a party. It might be the only Christmas party we get. Who knows? But we'll keep it fun. We'll have some giveaways, and I'll share with you the 12 days of Christmas.
Judy, I have a question.
Yes.
Is that going to be televised or recorded? Because I don't think I can make that day.
Yeah, we'll record them all.
Oh, okay. Great.
We'll record them all, and I think that what happens is if you're registered, you'll get a link to the recording afterwards. We're so new to this that we're not 100% sure if that's something that automatically happens or if it's something that we need to tell Zoom ahead of time to do that. I know I've been on the other end where I've just registered for webinars and I got the link afterwards, but I never knew if the admin had to send out that link. If you get our newsletter and our blog, hopefully what we can do is put a link to the recording in our newsletter, because we do send out a newsletter every other week with information. So that's, if we've got the link to a recorded Zoom, we'll pop it in there. We may also pop it into a page on our website that says recorded Zooms. We don't want to clutter the website up too much, but we might just add an extra tab now that has recorded Zoom sessions in it.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
So thank you all for joining, and keep the questions coming, and let's keep the communication going, and tell other people that use the widget that we are going to meet as a group once a month, and yeah, we'll just grow our widget community.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Thank
Terrific.
you.
Thank you.